Hey guys, what's going on? Steven back again, and I'm back with another 40k video from Major Kill. And the topic for today's video is... Oh, I hate YouTube's new thing. There we go. What if Holy Terra was lost? Okay, interesting. Now, are we talking lost as in destroyed and gone? Or lost like it's been completely overrun by Tyranids? If so, then that can be two very different scenarios. Obviously, if Holy Terra is lost, like it's gone, erased from the map, okay, that would be a very, a very interesting subject right there. If it is overrun, okay, there is a chance that it can be recovered. I guess it also depends on, does anybody make it out? Is anybody evacuated in time? Is Gilliman evacuated? Is the High Lords of Terra evacuated before Terra is lost? If High Lords, Gilliman are on the planet and everybody dies, okay, big trouble right there. You just lost everybody who's in charge and in command. Who would be, well, I guess the Lion would then become de facto leader, so there would be some sort of command. But if the High Lords and Gilliman are evacuated off the planet before it is lost, then at least there would still be some sort of command structure. People are still in charge, running things. Different, then we go in a different direction. I would say if Tyranids were overrunning, Terra and stuff like that, I would probably, if I was like Gilliman or something like that, I would immediately go to Mars and then immediately start fortifying and defending, probably recalling any and all forces in the area back to Mars and immediately defend Mars. You can't afford to lose Terra and Mars. If you lose Terra and Mars, then I think you're in very big trouble. Yeah, that would be a very interesting scenario. But I wonder if anybody would come to their aid. I wonder... I still wish I could find that that video. I forget who made it, what the topic was, but there was a video, and one of the things was talking about, like, if the Imperium or Terra was in absolute dire need, that either the Eldar or a certain craft world of Eldar would come to their defense. I don't know if that is true or not. I just wish I could remember who, what channel it was and what video it was just talking about that. But I wonder if something like that would be true. Would the Imperium also accept that? Because, I think the Eldar would want to help. I think the Eldar would want to help the Imperium in a time of need, because... how do I want to say it? Like, I don't know. I think if Terra was just lost, and the Emperor was gone, warp travel is that's it, I don't know. I think I just want to recall all my forces back, try to get as much of my forces back to, a certain area, like, say, Mars, obviously to defend it. And it would be a much smaller, Imperium. And then, as Eldar, if they're floating, in their craft worlds way out there, and there's a whole bunch of planets, because who knows how many planets, like right now, the Imperium is, having battles against and holding off all these different, Chaos over here, Necrons over here, Tyranids over here, Orcs on this planet over here, and the Imperium's, battling it out on all these different planets, holding them off. But then, hey, you're immediately recalled back to wherever Well, who's holding those forces off now? Not the Imperium. So they're going to take over that planet, and then they're going to keep going on their way. Who's gonna stop them? Yeah, sure. Orcs and Tyranids will go at it and stuff like that. But hey, oh, look at this craft world floating out here. All alone. Let's go. Let's go get them. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's just me. And then would the Imperium even accept their help if they did offer it? Who knows? But I don't know. I think it'll be a very interesting topic. So yeah, let's just jump right into the video, shall we? Here we go.
G'day guys and gal, there isn't a single place more valuable to the Imperium of Man than Holy Terra, the birthplace of humanity and home to the Emperor, as well as being by far the most populated planet in the galaxy. It was considered so valuable that even after the heresy, when the world was completely desolated and Loki became a demon world for a bit, the idea of abandoning it was shut down and an insane amount of resources went into its reconstruction and repopulation. It's also the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy, making Cadia look like an outpost by comparison. But what if the unthinkable happened and Holy Terra was lost? What would happen to the Imperium of Man? Would it cease to exist, or would humanity be able to adapt and continue onwards?
I think they would adapt.
Started, about a month ago, I launched my new supplement business, Natty Plus.
I think they would adapt, and the Imperium would be a lot smaller than it is now.
Ingredients together in the same capsules.
That's my guess. I could be wrong. Who knows?
The idea being, instead of using filler, why not just use more active ingredients? Now, I haven't been quiet about it since then because it was an elaborate rug pull. No, after our awesome launch, I just wanted to make sure our processes were in place and things were running smoothly. There were challenges. Our original courier ended up being shit, causing delays, so we fired that courier and are now using a much better one. I just want to be transparent and try to make things right if things
Monster Energy
intended. For those that want to know more about the supplements themselves, our most popular is our testosterone booster, featuring 10 active ingredients, all scientifically proven to either increase testosterone, such as Tomcat Ali, or give you high testosterone-like effects, like the horny goatweed. Awesome for any man, as high testosterone is pretty much always a good thing. The ultimate estrogen reduction helps clear out excess estrogen, reducing high estrogen side effects like gynecomastia, water retention, and brain fog. Liver support is elite, protects, regenerates, and cleans out your liver, massively lowering your liver enzymes. Perfect if you drink, which, let's be honest, most of us probably do, or take harsh medications or PEDs. Ultimate blood sugar management improves insulin sensitivity and keeps your blood sugar regulated. One of its active ingredients, berberine, is often called nature's Ozempic. Then finally, the men's ultimate performance multivitamin, packed with essential B vitamins, amongst other hard to naturally consume minerals like selenium or glutathione. The formulas are elite. We even ran human trials, with our test booster showing a 50% increase in natural test levels and the liver support literally performing magic. My liver was healthier binge drinking in Europe while taking the liver support than it was when I was back home and did dry August without the liver support. We're also giving away $1,000 worth of free supplements over on our Natty Plus Instagram. All you need to do is be following, comment on the giveaway, tag a mate, and boom, you are entered to win. So to pick up your own Natty Plus subs for 10% off, then use code MAJORKILL or link below and be sure to enter the free giveaway on Instagram. Today we'll go over exactly what would happen to the Imperium if Terra was lost. Would it adapt or would it crumble? Let's get into it.
I don't know, I'm still thinking adapt.
Fortunately for me, we have actually seen some examples of how the various parts of the Imperium would react to losing Terra, and we know of various contingencies and immediate plans that would go into effect if Terra was indeed lost.
Right.
So there actually won't be too much dark stabbing going on here. Currently, Terra is looking pretty solid in terms of staying alive, but there's a few potential Armageddons it could face in the current setting. Now, the first of which is if the Emperor was to actually properly die. Now, older lore suggested that the Talisman of Seven Hammers was a dead man's switch installed into the Golden Throne. If the Emperor died, Terra was boom, and that's that. However, now we know that the talisman needs to be directly activated by Vulcan himself, so the Emperor's death wouldn't actually instantly delete Terra. However, it would allow the demons to rip through the webway gate.
So Vulcan is the only one that can do that.
Worse. In this instance, the Custodies and other Imperial forces would hold back the demons for as long as possible, while as many valuable items and people would be saved and extracted as possible before the order was given to exterminatus the planet to stop it from becoming a demon world.
Okay, now, yes, so there would be evacuation.
Overrun Terra instead, but it's the same result. Tyranids attack, overrun the defenses, Emperor is eaten, demons bust through, demons kill the Tyranids, Terra is overrun by demons, then blows up. It's the same dance, just a different flavor. Now when you lose Terra, you lose a few other pretty important things. The Emperor is gone, but also there goes the Astronomicon. Not to mention there also goes most of the Custodian Guard, as well as the technology behind creating new ones. There goes the High Lords and the headquarters of each of the Imperium's institutions, and there goes quadrillions of Imperial citizens. happens. The warp would go dark.
So they
as
wouldn't
countless Imperials
evacuate the High
suddenly
Lords
lose their
then?
lighthouse and would be lost in the warp, destroyed or forced to make an emergency warp exit, more than likely ending up in bumfuck nowhere and being lost forever. That is actually what happened when the Emperor got temporarily knocked out when the Great Rift opened, but this time it's permanent. Yes, Mars and other key planets in the Sol system would still be there, at least for the sake of this hypothetical, but now they wouldn't be able to safely leave the system without the Astronomicon. Life in Imperium Sanctus would quickly devolve to be similar to life in Imperium Nihilus, where they also do not have the light of the Astronomicon. Now, Imperium Nihilus doesn't actually seem as grim as Old Night did. Yes, warp travel and astropathic communication is difficult, but not impossible. Baal has become the capital of Imperium Nihilus, and the Blood Angels fight to protect what remains. However, worlds in Imperium Nihilus are falling all the time, and there are even those that believe that they are the last Imperial world still living. Either way, life in Imperium Sanctus would get way shitter, but that doesn't necessarily make it.
So they think they're the only ones left.
Now, when Guilliman, the Line, and Sanguinius thought Terra had already fallen during the heresy, they established Imperium Secundus, a backup Imperium to continue the legacy of their father. They use
okay, so there would be a backup.
Were doing a reasonable job, all things considered. However, they also had the Faros device, a Xeno structure that acted in a similar way to the Astronomicon. It allowed for travel within Ultramar and helped guide many people to Imperium Secundus who were previously lost in the Runestorm. In a similar fashion, there was another Xeno device in Imperium Nihilus called the Coral Engine that also provided an Astronomicon-like
Lots of
effect.
Xenos devices.
It was like a beacon in the warp, a lighthouse that navigators could
But at
use
least
to
they do
point
have
reference
backup
to know where they
plans,
were and how to
or
get
had
them going.
backup
Now, both
plans.
the Faros device as well as the Coral Engine have both been destroyed. Womp womp. So it does make it clear that for there to be a stable Imperium, there needs to be some kind of Astronomicon device. As a bit of a long story short as to why this is so important, the Imperium has singularly dedicated worlds. Their agri worlds produce their food, their mining worlds produce their raw materials, their forge worlds produce their machinery and tools.
Of
the
course.
agri worlds are entirely reliant on machinery from the forge worlds. The forge worlds are entirely reliant on raw materials from the mining worlds. Both the mining worlds and forge worlds are entirely reliant on the agri worlds for food. If travel between these worlds ceases, then they are all fucked. And travel would cease without some form of warp lighthouse.
Exactly.
I don't even want to get started on how bad things would get on Hive World. Now yes, most worlds in the Imperium are civilized worlds, similar to our own modern day Earth, and are self-sufficient enough to survive without trading with other Imperial worlds. However, more than likely their defenses wouldn't be great, and all it would take is a splinter fleet of Tyranids, an Orkawa, Dark Elder Raiders, a Chaos Warband, or literally
and that would be the end of it.
That world is gonzos, as it cannot call for outside reinforcement. Now that is just the travel issue. The morale issue would also be horrendous. Losing Terra, the Emperor, and the
I didn't think of that.
would be shocking for the Imperium. Corruption would skyrocket as desperation would run rampant. The armies of the Imperium would still be vast, but now they are scattered and cut off from each other, unable to get to besieged worlds in time. The Imperium would have to make some hard decisions. Guilliman would likely return to Ultramar as fast as he reasonably could, probably using help from the Elder, and fortify his position there. Likewise, the Line would gather his forces around another strong point. The Imperium would devolve into numerous pocket empires, concentrating their forces as much as possible to be able to fend off enemy invasions. It's unclear what the remaining Custodian Guard would do, the few thousand still in the galaxy. With the Emperor truly gone, at least from the mortal plane, there is a solid chance all of them could low-key become deranged and seek death in battle, each one fighting like an avatar of vengeance before actually being slain. I can imagine entire shield hosts yeeting themselves at massive chaos formations.
That would be interesting.
For each Golden Boy slain. Some would stick to their purpose, staying with Guilliman or guarding key worlds or Imperial heroes, but they would mostly fade into obscurity. Now, despite the morale loss, Guilliman and the Line wouldn't just give up. Neither would many Imperials who would accept their new grim reality and seek vengeance. In many aspects, the Emperor would become a martyr. The most important thing for the new scattered Imperium would be to try and cover a new beacon or some form of new warp travel. The odds of there being a new beacon would actually be pretty high, since there's already been 3, or 4 if you include Dark Glass. The Imperium would also have to make some concessions and review some of its dogmatic policies that only really worked when they dominated the galaxy, such as restrictions on invention and innovation, as well as total xenophobia. More than likely, Guilliman would need to strike bargains with the Elder to be allowed to use the webway, as the Elder would also recognize that the Imperium was the bulwark they used to protect themselves from extinction. The Imperium would also likely form some sort of deal with the Tau, a true ceasefire in exchange for allowing the Imperium to use Tau faster than light travel, as the Tau can now travel decently far without the need for navigators or the Astronomicon.
Interesting.
I'm sure the Leagues of Votan would also be contacted and a bargain struck. Basically, the Imperium would need to humble itself. Now, some of the Imperium would reject this, but with Guilliman and the Line both agreeing on it, which they would, especially the newly awoken, more humble Lion, no one else even gets close to the amount of power and influence to challenge that. The setting would take on a new form. The Imperium would be reduced to a more level in the playing field, battlefield. No longer the Leviathan besieged at all angles, but now a spattering of
The Line
worlds
would
and
probably
smaller
handle the
kingdoms
army,
loosely working together
and
to
Gilliman would
survive.
handle all
galaxy
the
would be more
logistics
balanced,
and
but
stuff
power
like
rates would
that.
be more muddled. Chaos would indeed get a huge boost from this, being able to pursue their
Oh,
agendas
yes.
more freely and take more Imperial worlds a lot easier, but they'd also likely run into the issue of a more united galaxy against them. Likewise, the Tyranid menace would massively explode in power, as it could now freely consume many Imperial worlds. Honestly, the death of Terra would probably trigger an end times against the Tyranids, with most of the galaxy needing to unite against them. Chaos would now have to take on the biggest share of the anti-Tyranid war, and may even end up regretting the fall of Terra in time. Regardless of what happens though, the Imperium would still live on, and not just as some
Chaos
sort of
versus
pathetic
Tyranids,
echo.
that'd be
As long as the
interesting.
son of the Emperor lives, so does the Imperium. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up a Natty Plus supplement, or a few,
Okay.
link below, or code MAJORKILL for 10% off. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more Terra bull content. Join this.
Okay, so there we go. So that's what would happen if Holy Terror was lost. Okay, so there are backup plans and stuff like that. Looks like the High Lords would, I guess, get killed. I guess they wouldn't be evacuated, although I'm sure they'd still try to evacuate them. I mean, it seemed like it would, make sense to evacuate them somewhere else, but at least in this case, Gilliman's, back on McCrag, and the Line is still out there, so at least you still got, command and stuff like that. I do like how they had, backup plans for some sort of travel and stuff like that. That would be interesting to see, them working with Xenos races and stuff like that, trying to, work with the Tau and stuff like that. Like, hey, can we get some help? Hey, pal, how you doing? We promise we won't kill you. And then of course work with Eldar, because he did mention some of that stuff about the Eldar, and what he did say about the Custodes and stuff like that. That's kind of crazy that they would become deranged and just go on a massive killing spree instead of, although some, I guess, would go and, defend who needs to be defended and stuff like that, but others just going off on their own and on a killing spree. But yeah, he did say stuff about the Eldar.
Gone, at least from the neutral plane, there is a solid chance all of them could low-key become deranged and seek death in battle, each one fighting like an avatar of vengeance before eventually being slain.
Which would be insane.
I can imagine entire shield hosts yeeting themselves at massive chaos, some form of new warp travel. The odds of there being a new beacon would actually be pretty high, since there's already been 3, or 4 if you include Dark Glass. The Imperium would also have to make some concessions and review some of its dogmatic policies that only really worked when they dominated the galaxy, such as restrictions on invention and innovation, as well as...
Yep, you would definitely need to, all right, we gotta do stuff. We gotta do more inventing and stuff like that, all right, lift these restrictions on all this stuff here,
total xenophobia. More than likely, Gilliman would need to strike bargains with the Eldar to be allowed to use the webway, as the Eldar would also recognize that the Imperium was the bulwark they used to protect themselves.
There we go. See, just like I said earlier, the Imperium is the bulwark holding back all these different forces on all these different planets, and then if something like this happens, who's stopping all those forces from coming after the Eldar? And does the Eldar have the strength to defend against, orcs and Tyranids and all them coming after them together? Nope. But that would be a very interesting conversation. How would that go? Would the Eldar agree? Would they help them with the webway? Make a webway-ish device for them? What would the Eldar do? Tau, on the other hand, that would be an interesting thing too. Do you think they would agree and, be like, all right, we got a ceasefire here with the Imperium, so we will help you, with your traveling issues and stuff like that. That'd be a very interesting thing. That would be a very interesting topic. But that is crazy that only Vulcan is the only one that can, what was it, detonate that device. And who knows where Vulcan is. So, yeah, that is a very interesting topic. So, But that was a really good video, not gonna lie. That was awesome. That is a very intense what if moment. But there we go. There is the video. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think would happen if Holy Terra was lost? Do you think the Imperium would recover? What do you think about, Gilliman trying to strike deals with the Eldar and Tau? Do you think they go along with it or not? Just let me know how you guys think it would play out. What do you think the scenario would be like? Would it be like what he says, or would it be a little bit different? Let me know. But anyways, other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. That'd be awesome. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. And of course, if you guys got any topics you want me to go over, let me know down below in the comments section, and I'll be happy to make a video on it. But other than that, just stick around. More videos are on the way, and I will see you guys next time.